Hey there, how's it going? Welcome to Dominion 6. My name's Mew. This time around, I'm going to be playing a multiplayer game set in the early age, and I'll be playing as Lanka. This video will be the intro for this series, and in this video I'll just talk a little bit about Lanka, as well as the god that I made, skills that I chose, and the bless that I went with. And the next video going up in this series will be turn 1 to 3. So if you just want to see gameplay, you can skip this and wait for that one. I'll put a link to the full playlist for this series in the description under this video, and I'll also include some timestamps on this video so you can skip around to the bits that you're interested in. And that's that. That's the intro for the intro. So, let's go and take a look at Lanka, shall we? So here we are, Lanka, Land of Demons. That sounds pleasant, doesn't it? Never played Lanka before. In fact, I'm not sure that I've even played in an ape nation before. Maybe I have. I think I've played too many games of Dominions now. I can't remember all of the games that I've played. I definitely played Patala at one point. I think that was back in Dominions 4. I'm not sure if Patala counts as a monkey nation. But ape nation, also a blood nation, and I don't play blood nations very often either. This is a heavily blood nation, so yeah, gonna have to do some blood stuff at some point. Probably very early, if things go well. Let's look at the national features anyway. So, race, demon ogres, apes, and undead. Prefers heat scale +2. Preferring heat is quite funny since some of these guys have a fire vulnerability, but there we go. Military, strong Rakshasa infantry. Missile units and light infantry, reanimated apes. Magic is air, blood, death, glamour, and nature. Very similar to Machaka, switching out earth for blood. Priests, medium, national priests can reanimate the dead. I don't think we want to lean too much onto reanimation though, we're not Solaria or anything like that. But, you know, free chaff is always nice sometimes. Dominion blood hunts give more blood slaves in turmoil and less in order. That's quite interesting. Yeah, you are incentivized to go turmoil with these guys. Several reasons. So that's nice to kind of offset well, generally if you're blood hunting, you want order to get the unrest down, right? Well, at least that's how I view it anyway. I'm hardly a blood expert. So at least you get a benefit for being turmoil. Scales and blesses, turmoil limit +1, heat limit +1, and buildings are standard forts. Alright then. Not a gigantic selection of units, which is great. Let's look at the commanders first. First up, Markata Scout. Our scouts are 60 stealthy and only cost 25 gold. Amazing, perfect, the best scout, no notes. Wonderful. And then we have 3 different types of commander. We have the Atabi commander, who is stealthy, only has a regular leadership. We've got the Bandar commander, who is not stealthy, but has the +1 for 3. And a bigger, tougher, better Bandar commander, who has the +2 for 4 leadership, but also isn't stealthy. So, you know what, as far as the mundane troops go, pretty great selection of commanders if you ask me. You've got all your bases covered there. And then everything else is mages. Also priests in the case of the Raktapata. So these guys are blood mages and Holy One priests. So probably going to be doing a lot of blood hunting with these guys, especially early on. They're also the first unit we can recruit that can lead demons, since you need blood magic to lead demons, or death, since it just counts as it's classed underneath undead leadership. Yeah, that is a bit awkward because a lot of our best units are, in fact all of our best units are demons. So none of our mundane commanders being able to lead our demon units is kind of annoying. Gonna have to get out some Raktapatas early on to get out our demons. But yeah, basic mage. They can do holy stuff, they can blood hunt, they can... We can't blood sacrifice, can we? No. Blood hunt. Fair enough. You can also do some reanimation, but... Yeah, I don't think you want to lean too heavily on reanimating on this nation. I think you'll probably just use it a bit early to get some early chaff, and then I guess it's nice to have some free stuff that can patrol for you. I imagine there's a lot of things you want to be doing with your mages on this nation, though. You need some mages leading around the demons, some mages blood hunting, some mages reanimating, and that's not even counting, you know, the usual researching and forging, so these guys are going to be stretched pretty thin, I think. Interestingly, they are animals as well, the ape dudes, which is significant because they are susceptible to animal charming spells, unfortunately. They only have 12 magic resistance. It is quite funny to imagine a late game Lanka Sabbath being just absolutely bodied by Beast Mastery, just claiming all of the Sabbath slaves. That could happen, right? I mean, 12 magic resistance isn't huge. Anyway, yeah, 110 gold. Gonna need lots of these mages whether you want it or not, so at least they're not too expensive. Yogini's next. These guys are not sacred. They are much better mages, though. 210 gold for 13 research. It's not great, is it? And they're also not cheap upkeep either. But you always know exactly what paths you're going to get. Get one of these guys out early to do some nature site searching. Other than that, I mean, same issue. Animal with 12 magic resistance. I don't know, maybe that's not a big deal, but it does seem kind of scary to me. I guess because I've played Marverni. I've seen 1,000 boars get charmed by Beast Mastery, so I'm very cautious about animal units now. But I think boars have like 3 magic resistance, right? So it's a bit different. Anyway, I mean, the apes in general have better stats than humans, right? I mean, they're size 4, okay. But there's 16 hit points. And that's nice. It's also good for Sabbaths, right? Having more hit points for the regen thing. Is it 16 hit points, you get 2 hit points per round from regen, right? Instead of 1. Something like that. Anyway, there's Yogini. Again, I think we're gonna need all of our mages, right? The Kalamuka is next. Okay. These guys are 210, these guys are 240. What do you come with? Just a 1 pick? So I guess you're only really recruiting these if you want an H2. And just better leadership, I guess. Do they have any other special traits? Some are given martial training as sacred warriors. Interesting. Attack 12, defense 10. I mean, they don't seem particularly skilled to me, or what do I know? Is it the same as... I'm not sure. What would Kalamuka be for? I mean, I guess they are H2 and they're also reanimators, and better priests are better reanimators, right? So yeah, if you did want an H2, then yeah, you have these guys. They're also only 9 research though. This is 7 for 110, this is 9 for 240, so they're not... You definitely don't want these guys as researchers. I think the niche these guys fill is that they're H2s, right? And that's just it. And then they're just super expensive because they have magic paths. Am I correct there? Is my analysis good? Or am I missing something? They seem like bad commanders. Maybe I'm missing something though. So, okay. Probably going to want to get these two mostly and then ignore this one. Maybe I'm wrong. And then we have the cap-only guys. The cap-only guys are sick though. This guy comes with D1, N1, G1, and B1, and Holy One, and then also gets a bunch of picks too. So these guys could have all kinds of paths. They have really good stats, because these are pure Demon Ogre guys. So they also have tons of undead leadership, which is very nice. They're also reanimators, okay. Stealthy. They don't need to eat. Some of our demons don't need to eat, some of them do. They're all gluttons though, so it's hard to mix these guys in with units that do need to eat, because they're going to eat all the food. Interesting thing about the Rakshasi is they can change shape into a minutia Rakshasi, who are just worse across the board, but they can seduce. They turn into beautiful human women. So I guess if you want to do some disgusting assassination stuff on people, which is usually really annoying, then you could do that too. 4 rec points though, so it's going to be slow getting these guys out, and they are cap only, so... But 425 gold gets you a really nice cap only mage, I think. We have good cross paths for blood as well. Blood and nature gets you an extra nature booster, which is nice. It also lets you do crossbreeding, I guess, if you want to do that. But blood and death is the really good one, right? Vampires. I actually don't know what the blood and glamour cross path is, if there is one. I haven't looked at that. Well, I guess we'll find out if we get to the late game. We do some blood magic stuff. Yeah, other than that, I mean, these guys are not animals because they're purely demons. Very good stats. They're big and chunky. Expensive. But, yeah, I like these guys. They seem pretty cool. They are just generally stealthy as well. Quite a lot of stealthy stuff on this nation, isn't there? I'm not so sure about the Sacreds, though. I don't think the Sacreds are stealthy. No. So your only stealthy units are the Atavi and the Markata, I think. But technically, I mean, you could use these guys to do some stealthy stuff if you want. There's probably summons we can get that are stealthy there, right? I mean, at a minimum, we can get out, what is it, Shadow Demons or something? I don't know. I mean, you're going to want to get these guys out everywhere to do the blood stuff, and then these guys are your out-of-cap researchers, I guess. And also spellcasters. And then from the cap, you probably want to get out as many of these as you can, would be my guess. These are going to be your big mages that you rely on. We do also get these guys as well, though. You are only Air Mage, in fact. You are, right? Did you get Air? No. So these guys also get you into Air, in addition to being huge, thugged out dudes, which is pretty sick. Very expensive, though. You can get these guys out every turn, which is interesting. So A2, D1, B2, you get one pick of these paths. I mean, D2 with the gem is Soul Vortex, right? And then you can also Mistform yourself. That's pretty sick for thugging. Isn't there also a blood spell that gives you damage reversal? I think that's pretty late though, right? So these would be really cool for thugging, actually. Decent hit points. Really nice stats. Also Reanimator Priests, and they're H2. So they can do the slightly better reanimation. Do you have Chaos Power, by the way? Yeah, okay. So all of the demons also come with Chaos Power, which means these guys have much better stats in Turmoil. The unit is more powerful in provinces with high Turmoil and less in Order. Unrest, it also counts as Turmoil. Chaos Power also affects the stealth value of sneaking units. I didn't realize that. That's interesting. Yeah, so for every point of Turmoil, we get 1 on all of our combat stats, which is pretty good as well. Yeah, these guys are also pretty nice. I mean, they are both pretty expensive, right? 425 and 550. At least they're Sacred, though, which cuts out the upkeep a little bit. Yeah, the other thing about our demons is that they're all susceptible to fire, unfortunately. So you kind of have to build some fire resistance into your Bless, I think, as a standard. Because I don't think... I mean, it's a bit silly not to, right? Especially since your own scales are going to be heat. Although, I don't think heat and burning... I think fire... It doesn't matter, right? No, it must matter. I think fatigue effects that do fire damage will matter, won't they? But the actual heat from scales doesn't... I don't think the heat from scale... I don't know. Tell me, explain to me in the comments. Does heat from scales, like heat in combat, does having fire susceptibility mean anything in terms of heat from scales in combat? I don't think it does, right? This is one of those things that I constantly forget and then relearn. So you can reteach it to me in the comments, and I can forget it again later. All in all, though, I kind of like our mages, to be honest. I mean, it's really simple, right? Blood hunters, researchers, cool cap dudes. Cool cap dudes, that's it. That's the analysis. I don't know what these guys are for unless you want to do H2 reanimation. I think that's all these guys are for. Fair enough. Units then. Okay, so ape units are pretty much reviled, I think, generally speaking. Because if you're an ape nation, you have to start with these things. And they make terrible expansion forces. But if you put that aside, I don't think they're bad units, actually. I think they're pretty cool. It just sucks when you start with these units, because as an expansion force, they're dreadful. But let's go through them. We got the Markata. So there's 2 types of Markata. These guys have a club and some sticks and stones, and these guys have a fist and a short bow. The Markata Archer is... Well, in Dominions 5, actually, this was a pretty sick unit. Because they were size 1 in a world of size 6 squares, so you could get 6 of them on a square. Which is really densely packed short bows. Put a load of buffs on them. You could easily field, 1,000 flaming arrow short bows, just... Because these guys cost 5 gold, 2 resources, and 3 rec points. So easily one of the best units you could recruit on any kind of nation, to be honest. At least through the mid-game. Just thousands and thousands of flaming arrows. I mean, what's not to love about that? We don't actually... Do we get fire magic? We don't, right? No. I guess that's the other difference between us and Machaka. There is a new set of spells now, though, that lets you put poison arrows. But we also don't have Earth for the strength buffs either, do we? Marketa Arch is probably not as good on Lanka then. They don't get the cool buffs. And yeah, they're nerfed in Dominion 6 as well, because they're size 2 in a world of size 10 squares now, so you only get 5 on them onto a square instead of 6. But, traditionally speaking, Marketa Arch is actually pretty sick units. When you start with them, they're not, though. You just put them in the front and make heavy cavalry run into them, I think. Atavi kind of suck. I mean, I think these are just worse than the Marketa. They do hit harder, technically. Maybe they're better for us, because we won't be able to put the cool buffs on the Atavi anyway. I don't know. These guys are all stealthy, which is also something. But yeah, I mean, they have a lot of problems though. They have no protection, no magic resistance, and no morale, which is not a great selection of things to not have, you know. But their strength is that they're stealthy, and there's, you know, you can easily field 1 million of them if you want, because they don't cost anything. So, is that a good thing? Well, probably later on it is, but again, they're not. It kind of sucks when you start with these things as your starting army. And then we have the Bandar dudes as well. So, the Light Bandar Archer is actually pretty interesting to me, because they come with a longbow, not a short bow, and their strength is quite good. Their precision is dreadful though. 9 precision longbow. It's got 45 range and hits for 16 piercing damage. But 9 precision. Is that good? Probably. I mean, I think in general just having lots of archers is always good, right? If you can mass archers, I mean, it's never going to be bad. But it is better when you can put flaming arrows and giant strength on them, and we can't do either of those, so I don't know. I think I used a lot of Marketa in the Machaka game, and I used a lot of longbows in the Ura game. But I'm not sure if these archers are going to be as good in any situation, just because we don't have the buffs for them. But still, I mean, there's only so many sacred units we can recruit, so if we want mundane units, I mean, we either want lots of densely packed short bows or a bunch of slightly harder hitting longbows, right? And that's basically your choice. And then you have the Bandar Warrior, if you need a mundane frontliner, I guess. Not terribly impressive, though. Mediocre stats. They do hit pretty hard, I guess. 21 damage mace isn't bad. And they come with sticks and stones, which can also be flaming arrows, blessed. But again, we can't do flaming arrows. Can you do poison on this? I wonder if poison needs to be piercing weapons. There's a lot of ammunition. Yeah, I mean, ape units are ape units. They're, you know, I think they're pretty decent in certain situations for certain nations. I'm not sure they're very good for us, and they're definitely not very good as a starting army, unfortunately, but, you know, we'll do what we can. The real units we want to be looking at on this nation are the Sacreds, which is these 4 guys. So we have the Asara. I think these are probably the cheapest, right, because they have no armor or anything. So 35-3-21. 35-3-21, okay. 50-18-32, and 55-15-31. So these guys are the same price entirely. So when do you want one and when do you want the other? Well, these guys have a buckler and 20 combat speed. Okay. These guys do not have a buckler. They do have a javelin, though, and only 10 combat speed. You can stick these behind your front line and have them throw javelins, I guess. Do they have the same strength? These guys are slightly weaker. I'm not sure which one of these is the better of the two, to be honest. I guess it depends on what you want. You want something that's fast and doesn't have a javelin, but does have a buckler. So more of a area. Or something that can be mixed in with infantry and throw javelins. I guess that's when you recruit these two. Other than that, yeah, no armor, no protection, average stats. Lots of hit points though, and they are sacreds. So that's nice. They do have chaos power like all of our demons do, so I guess these stats will get buffed a little bit in Turmoil, which is nice. Other than that, not much to say. These guys are cool because they're fast, I suppose. We can only recruit these guys out of the capital. These guys we can recruit anywhere, I believe, and these are also sacred. So These have slightly better stats, but they don't have the chaos power. So the stats aren't going to get buffed in turmoil the way our demon sacreds will. I don't think we want to be recruiting these. They're very expensive compared to the other guys. I guess they do have more protection. And they do have 9 combat speed, which might be decent if you're mixing them in with other Bandar. Everything else is kind of fast, so it's going to get ahead of your other troops, generally speaking. But the best sacred overall, I think, is the Palankasha. If we can get these guys as often as possible. They are also the most expensive, though. So they have the best combat stats. They have, you know, armor and a buckler, which is something. Yeah, I think in general, out of your cap, you're going to want to get as many Palankashas as possible. And then these two guys are just going to fill in specific holes if you need to. Or if for some reason you just don't have the resources to get out Palankashas. Yeah, that's my analysis. Again, feel free to leave comments and let me know what you think of these units. Not sure about these guys, but it looks like they're not cap only, so I guess if we need sacred frontliners outside of our cap, we can use these guys. That's not too bad. I mean, these guys do hit very hard. Both of these guys hit pretty hard, right? Yeah, 26 damage with a falchion, 27 damage with a falchion. And these guys will hit even harder once they're in turmoil as well, because it'll buff their strength. So all in all, I mean, I quite like the sacreds and I like the mages. And I like the commanders. The units that are non-sacred are, you know, they're monkeys and apes. They're, you know, they exist. And they're doing their best. What are our sites? So we have 3 death, 1 air, and 2 nature. Okay. We aren't one of those blood nations that gets free blood slave income. Okay, fair enough. Well, there's my brief look at the commanders and units of Lanka. Let's go and take a look at the god I made. And here is the god I went with. So the god of Lanka is a demi-lich, named real-time cat-related events. So, okay, a couple of things first of all. We don't need help expanding, so we don't really need an awake expander or anything like that. Lanka should expand quite well if you ignore the awful starting army. In general, we just want to be able to recruit some of our sacred units. 2 turns of recruitment should be fine as an expansion force. So in theory, every 2 turns we'll have an expansion army, and that'll do pretty good expansion actually. So we don't need any kind of awake god or anything like that. On top of that, there's a bless that we, I think, absolutely must have, which is some fire resistance. Because, yeah, our sacred mages all come with fire vulnerability, unfortunately. I don't think the units do, interestingly, no. Just the mages, but even so. The cap mages having fire vulnerability means, yeah, it's nice to just solve that immediately with the bless, since they are both sacred. This also works nicely with an imprisoned god because you don't need to be incarnate to have the regular fire resistance bless. And since we're doing an imprisoned god with some non-incarnate blesses, well, let's just lean into that then. I think you could either keep going with bless effects for your mages or for your units. Probably makes more sense to do the units though, right? So in this case, the bless is very similar to the Muspelheim game. It's just stacking stats, basically, on a bunch of units that already have stat boosts. So our Sacred Palankashas all have Chaos Power. That's going to give them more attack and defense skill while they're in turmoil. So why not just keep giving them defense skill? We should be able to get them up to, let's see, I mean, you guys have 12 defense. If we're in turmoil 3, that's 15 defense. And then the bless gets them to 20 defense. That's pretty good. For early game wars, that's going to be pretty good. It's going to be very difficult for things to hit us with regular unit attacks. Stick awareness on top to make sure that we can keep the defense, because actually, you guys are pretty big as well, right? I mean, they're size 4. They're slightly bigger than humans. So I guess they're technically vulnerable to getting harassed quite a bit. So we'll give them some awareness too. And when it comes to smaller effects, I mean, we could put some more resists in here. We're taking awareness, which is air 3, so might as well grab shock resistance since we already have the air for it. True Sight, always pretty nice, deals with all the glamour stuff. Yeah, I mean, a pretty straightforward bless, I think, for our Palankashas, and probably most of our summon units as well. Demilich is a great chassis for this. The Demilich has always been one of the most efficient chassis in the game. It's kind of, I don't know, is the Demilich broken? It's just kind of weird because it sits with the Titans. So it comes with Dominion 3 and a bunch of magic as well. It even gets scales effect, scales limit things, which usually only Titans get, I think. Well, I guess what I'm saying is not the humans. The Dominion 1 pretenders never get Dominion scale effects. They also come with much lower Dominion and much lower magic. But the Demilich is competitive with the Dominion 1 pretenders chassis on price, right? It's only 120. Freak Lord's 100. Great Sage is 110. And it costs 20 points to get a new magic path. It's only 10 more than a Dominion 1 pretender. I don't know, the Demilich has always just been extremely efficient cost-wise. I'm not sure why. I mean, it does have, 3 hit points, and, you can't really do a lot with it, I guess. That's the reasoning. It can't hold a lot of boosters either. But, I mean, it's a great chassis. Yeah, we can get a bunch of magic on it really cheaply, stick a massive Rainbow Bless on it, imprison it, and we still get up to Dominion 8. I mean, it's hard to really argue with, right? So, in terms of magic paths, we got Fire for the fire resistance, of course. And then we got Water for the defense skill. Okay. We come with Death, so that's been pumped quite a bit. We got some Glamour for the True Sight. And Awareness is the air, which for the shock resistance as well. Then the question is, what else do you bump to get enough bless points? In this case, I've done Astral, and I think that makes sense because this guy's immobile, right? So this lets him teleport. And Astral plus Glamour means he can do the cool project self thing, which was a lot of fun in the Machaca game. So yeah, maybe we'll get some mileage out of that too. Not quite as necessary for this guy though, is it? Because he's immortal, so... I mean, if he dies, he just immediately comes back. But even so, I mean, it's, we can do either. If we have more Glamour gems than Astral, maybe. We can project him instead of teleport him. I mean, I guess the thing about projecting is it means you don't leave your province also, right? You can't teleport into a province that doesn't have a lab, otherwise you're going to be stuck. Yeah, so projection is actually better, isn't it? I mean, you can't carry gems, but still. Scales-wise, the big scale we want to pump up, first of all, is Dominion. Because, yeah, I mean, the units we're going to be relying on more than anything else are the Sacreds. We want to be able to get out as many Palankashas as we can each turn. So, Dominion 8, it's nice and high. We should be able to get out 7 Palankashas a turn. We don't really need much for these guys. They are 55 gold. Because it might hurt a bit having... We don't really have much income skills. We're on minus 13 income effects, but yeah, a lot of our big mages are quite expensive too. But we should be okay. We need to pump up Turmoil as well, of course, because we're going to be relying on Chaos power. So Dominion 8, Turmoil 3 is pretty straightforward. Productivity we don't need too much because we're only going to be recruiting 7 units per turn, so at least in the early game. So yeah, you can probably drop this for Sloth. But you might start hurting your income a bit too much at that point. And, I don't know. Probably don't want to be too cocky with resources either. It's fine just staying neutral. Eat 1. Haven't changed that either. Bit of growth. Yeah, just try not to hurt the income too much. Growth I think is quite good as well if you're a Blood Nation, right? Because if you go blood hunting a lot, you're going to be killing population and growth is going to replenish it over time. Since we're big Turmoil, we want to have a bit of luck as well. Always nice to pair those together. If we're lucky, maybe we'll get some gold events as well. Help us with recruitment. And magic. Magic should probably also be pumped as high as possible. I'm only doing magic 1 here. But, yeah, our mages are going to be... They're going to be busy, aren't they? These guys have, like... These guys have, like, 3 jobs. Yeah. Research might fall by the wayside. We probably have to focus quite heavily just on blood magic early on. Because I don't think we can hit like multiple like mid-range targets very easily. Just because our mages are going to be busy, I think. I think it'll be better to just focus on only researching blood magic for a bit. Maybe a couple of early buffs and things, but yeah, generally speaking, I think research is going to be really hard for us. That might not be a good situation for me, because I don't generally do a lot of research anyway, but there we go. But yeah, Demi-Lich, lots of magic to get a nice Imprisoned Bless, mostly a stat bless to pair with the Chaos power, make our guys impossible to hit. We just want to get out 7 Pelling Caches a turn, you know, Expansion Army out every 2 turns, and then what, by turn 15 or whatever, we should be able to just roll into somebody pretty easily. Just overwhelm them with heavily buffed Sacreds. There's the other thing as well, we really want to push our Turmoil into somebody. Or just get a neighbor who has Turmoil skills, I suppose. Yeah, but I mean, Dominion 8 is going to help with spreading Dominion, isn't it? But there we go, there's real-time cat-related events, the Demi-Lich, God of Lanka. Let me know in the comments what you think. And I think that's everything for this video. So, next time you hear from me, it'll be turn 1 to 3. That'll be in a video in, I think, 4 days. I think I'm trying to do series now where you get a video every 4 days in a series. That seems to be working fine. So whatever day this goes up, there'll be a 3-day wait and then the next video. So hopefully you enjoyed this one enough that I will see you then. Oh, by the way, also like and subscribe and comment and